Hi, I'm Sean from Becker Orthopedic. Today we're going to talk about the adjustments of our triple action B hinge. It's important that whenever adjusting the hinge, it's done by somebody who is familiar and certified to do so. You should always refer to the provider that you received your orthosis from. Do not attempt to make adjustments on your own, as even minor adjustments may make significant differences in how you walk. With me today, I have our Method TA AFO. This is our new off-the-shelf AFO that incorporates our triple action B with a double booster hinge. It is a black anodized body and is unique to this product that is available. I also have a custom AFO with me that has our more traditional silver component body and also with the double boosters. This is meant to be a review of how to adjust the hinge so that you are familiar how to make the changes necessary with your patient. When adjusting the hinge on the Method TA AFO, it will come to you first bench aligned, but you may need to know how to get it back to bench alignment as well, or on a custom device, how to bench align it to begin with. So to begin, we start and set our ankle angle at 0 degrees. To adjust this, we'll need the 4mm wrench that is provided with the orthosis. Each orthosis comes with a 4mm, a 2.5, a 2mm, and a 1.5 Allen key. You'll not need the 2.5 if it's not a thermoplastic construction. That is meant for the screws that are used for that fabrication process. But we will need these other 3 Allen wrenches for adjustment of the hinge. We'll also need the silver laser cut wrench that is provided for ankle alignment adjustments and booster position adjustments. When we are all done, we are going to need to torque this joint so that it is properly secured for your patient. So you will need a torque wrench that goes to 10 Newton meters. We will also need a 15mm crescent and a 4mm attachment bit for the ankle hinge when we are all done. So to begin with, we start with adjusting the ankle angle alignment. Inside of the cam, there is an alignment screw that we want to fully engage the head of, and we turn it about a half of a turn. This loosens the cam and allows us to change the shank to vertical alignment or ankle alignment. On the bench, we set it to 0 degrees, but when the patient is standing in their shoes, you may adjust the height or the ankle alignment based on the height of their shoes. So we want to make sure they have good, accurate position, good balance of their shank and knee position relative to the joint, and also their hip position. Once we're satisfied with our alignment angle, you'll go back and you will tighten that alignment screw so that it keeps the position of the upright relative to the joint body in a nice, stable, aligned position. Once you're ready to adjust your booster height, you have to make sure that the booster lock screw is loose. If it has already been tightened, you need the 1.5mm wrench to loosen it. Right now, as it's sticking out away from the joint body, it is loose enough that I may adjust my booster height. Your booster height will align again with our silver wrench. You can adjust it on the barrel of the wrench. When we first align it, we want the 0 to be at the back of the joint facing backwards and the 0 facing the front of the joint in the anterior channel. So the 0, to get it zeroed out, we're going to tighten the booster all the way down, and then we're going to back it up about a 1 degree turn to set it at 0 position. In this case, my 0 is aligning perfectly with where I want it, but if it isn't, you may have to loosen that screw and turn your dial so the 0 is facing in the direction that you want. This is your reference point for how much you are loading the springs inside of each channel. You can loosen them to up to 10 degrees in each channel. We start at 0 so that the joint is stable while we're doing our alignments, but then we're going to first loosen our posterior booster for the first rocker of gait adjustments, and then we will loosen our anterior channel for our second to third rocker gait adjustments for push-off. Please refer to our tuning procedure for more instructions on what you're looking for when adjusting these channels. But I'm just trying to share with you how to adjust this. So as I go on the bottom of my barrel of my booster, I turn it, and each time that that number switches position, I'm increasing 1 degree of freedom. 1 degree, 2 degree, and then I may watch the person walk before I make further adjustments. Once I am satisfied with the adjustments of my booster position, I'm going to want to lock that booster down, and I do that with this 1.5 millimeter Allen key in the back of the hinge. This acts as your Loctite for a stable booster aligned position in the hinge. Once we've adjusted the joint fully in the way that we want the patient to leave with it, we're going to need to torque it all the way down. So we've locked our booster position. I'm going to take my 4 millimeter wrench on my torque wrench, and I'm going to torque the pivot to that 10 Newton meter position. And I want to do that so it's nice and accurately tight. And then I'm going to torque the alignment screw as well so that it fully torques to 10 Newton meters. Again, that was just hand tight and not torque tight, so it did take that extra torquing to make sure that the joint is going to be nice and stable and will last longer for that reason. There's one last area to torque on this hinge, which is our 15 millimeter nut that is on the back of the upper bar. You want to make sure that the crescent is fully engaged with the head of that. It is very shallow to not cause problems with contacting your patient, but you want to make sure that the crescent is fully down and that you're able to hold it and torque that nice and tight, and then that will help keep that joint in a stable position. One last adjustment that you need to maybe be aware of for your patient is if you need to adjust the amount of spring tension inside of any of these chambers. You are able to remove the springs that are inside of any of these boosters. To do so, you have to first loosen the booster all of the way. The reason for this is because there's pressure on those springs, and you won't be able to get inside if you have pressure down on them. So we want to loosen the springs, and I'll do a little bit with my wrench, but then once it's easy enough to do by hand, I'll do it the rest of the way by hand. I will then loosen the top of the range of motion dial and remove that screw entirely. This allows me to get inside of this chamber and remove the dial. So that screw comes out, the dial comes off, and now we have what we call a keeper plate. The keeper plate will push out of only one side of the booster because there's a larger side and a skinnier side to that keeper plate. And now behind the keeper plate, there's a little washer. We call this a cup washer. The cup washer helps protect the keeper plate from these very strong springs. So you want to make sure that you don't lose that cup washer. And then we have our 2 springs inside of each channel, a large stiff spring and a less heavy range of motion spring. So you can choose to either just put the larger spring back in or just the smaller spring. You can also leave the booster chamber empty as well to see the changes that may cause for your patient. So we can change the level of spring resistance based on that. Once we are happy or satisfied with what we want inside of each chamber, we're going to reinsert the springs. Whether you want both springs back in or not, you're going to reinsert your cup washer, and then we're going to reinsert our keeper plate as well. Zoop. Wouldn't be accurate if something didn't go perfectly each time. So now our range of motion dial goes back on top, and we're going to put our screw right back on here. So you can see why the range of motion dial might not be exactly at 0 when we screw this booster all the way down, and you may have to reset where 0 is as your reference point. It has nothing to do with the tension on the springs. The height of the booster has tension on the springs. There's a long pin that sits underneath those springs, and it communicates with the pin that is in the spring in the lower chamber of the triple action hinge. So we're going to screw that booster all the way down. I'm going to see where I end up when I get it to the very bottom here. And then I'm going to go back just, so I landed now where 0 is here, although I'm going to put it at 1, and I'm going to loosen it just 1 degree more, and I'm going to reset my 0 to that position. And that's where we're going to call the zeroed out position that we want to begin our adjustments on. So I'm going to retighten my range of motion dial screw so that that does not move, and I'm bench aligned again with this, and I'm going to begin my loosening process. If I've changed the springs in this chamber, I'm going to re-begin my loosening process when adjusting it on the patient. Once I'm final set on any of these adjustments, again, don't forget to tighten everything down. Thank you for learning how to adjust our triple action B hinge. Please refer to other documents for further adjustments or more information on adjusting the triple action B hinge at beckerorthopedic.com. Thank you very much.